Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another video. This one is coming from a comment from somebody on one of my videos on my Sony FX9, where the person was asking, how did I go about figuring out how to invest in a camera? What were my thoughts when I was investing in this camera? And this got me thinking, actually, sorry, wait 1 second. First off, gotta go to my sponsor for this video, Side Launch Brewery. Not really my sponsor, but I really love their beers, and they're basically across a field from my house, like a kilometer away. Side Launch. This is their mountain lager, and I'm just gonna enjoy this while we shoot this. Remember to support local, guys. Support your local restaurants, support your local breweries, support your local businesses, especially during this time with these crazy things going on. Local, try to stay within your community and support your local everything you can. Okay, back to the video. So, the FX9, look at this. This has the back on it right now. It is, I talked about in a video before, the back is big, but I never showed it. Makes the camera ridiculously big, like obnoxiously big. I don't understand why it had to be so much bigger than the one that's in the FS7, but this is the back. This is the only way you're going to be able to do raw output to an external recorder. I will be using another third-party V-mount back when I'm not doing raw output, because the raw isn't out there yet, and I won't be doing it all the time. So anyways, how did I go about investing in this camera? And this really got me thinking about something I wanted to do a video on for a while, and that is investing in cameras or camera gear in general. And how do you think about that stuff, and what are the best steps, and what are the things that I've learned over the years, over 15 years of doing my own freelance work, 20 years doing video work. I've owned a lot of cameras. These are different cameras I've owned behind me. There's other cameras that I've owned that I've sold, and some were great investments and some were not good investments. And some made me money and some cost me money. So what are those things you need to think about when you are looking at investing in a camera or camera gear? So I'm going to give you guys a bit of advice, some things that were taught to me from another DP that gave me some great advice years ago, and things in general just when you're doing work, and especially when you're starting out. So one of those things, if you're trying to work as a DOP, as a camera operator, and you're going out on jobs. Now, if you live in a city, if you're in a big city core and there's a lot of rental houses, things might be a little bit easier for you to get access to cameras through rentals than myself. I'm about 2 hours away from the closest city in Toronto, and that's where the majority of the rental houses are. For me to go do rentals and stuff, it's a lot of work for me to go down and pick up a rental and bring it back. If I'm shooting stuff up here, if I'm shooting stuff in the city, it's a little bit different. It may be a little bit easier, but I myself, the way I work, and the way that my business works is that I go out as an owner-operator. Okay, so an owner-operator is typically somebody that goes out with their own camera gear. So I go out with my own camera package, my own lighting package, my own audio package, my own grip package. And for the most part, I would say 90% of my jobs, that's what I'm using. That's what I'm getting paid for. That's what my day rate is going towards. It's going towards my whole package. I'm coming up with that. I very seldom go out as just a camera operator using other cameras. And there's some times where we need to rent some different gear, but a lot of the jobs I do, I don't need that. And if I'm going to be doing that more and more, I would invest in that gear. So I'll tell you what are my thought patterns of how you're thinking about getting that gear. So one of the things straight up, if you are renting a camera more than twice a month, you likely could be paying for a lease for that camera monthly for the same price or less. Okay, so this happened to me years ago when I was working with the C300, the C300 Mark I, and that was my main camera. And there was a bunch of different jobs we were coming out with, and we were going out with, we needed a B camera, and we were renting the C100. And the C100, I think at the time then, was costing us $150 per day for rental. Now, Canon at that time, and Canon still does this in Canada, I'm not sure about the US or in other parts of the world, but Canon offers 0% financing. And I had bought my C300 on credit was paying it off, but I didn't do the financing because I didn't know about that. The C100, I looked at the financing for, and it was something like $250 a month. So in 2 rental days, I more than made up that cost for the rental, and I had it the rest of the month to be able to use it. I could use it on any of my jobs as a B cam. I could use it as an A cam on some different jobs, and I would, at the end of a 3-year lease for 0% financing, I would own the camera. And this was advised to me by another DP I was saying, and it really got me thinking about how I purchase gear and how I thought about purchasing gear. So the idea is, one, first looking at it that way. Are you renting camera gear all the time? Is it worth it? If you're renting stuff all the time and it's being paid for, it'd be a better investment for you to buy that camera or to lease that camera and have that money so it's an asset. You're going to own that camera at the end instead of letting the rental house own the camera. So I really recommend, and I am really for leasing my camera gear. I lease a ton of different things. I typically have a bunch of different leases going on at the same time. Right now, I am leasing this Sony FX9. I'm doing a lease off of it. It's actually a lease through Sony's own finance, and they do 0% financing. So for this camera right here, the FX9 with the back, with this lens, with this body, not some of the other accessories, but the cost for this camera altogether was $25K. Okay, that's with HST, with tax here in Canada. With my financing that I got through Sony for 0% financing, I'm paying this off in 2 years. And my payments per month are $900. Okay, this camera rents right now, I think it's renting for $350 or $450 a day for the body with some lenses and stuff, without the back, without the lens. So you can see very quickly, and typically before what's going on right now, if you're watching at this time during the COVID crisis, I don't have very many shoots going on. Very few shoots. And that's the majority of production world. But before this stuff and what I can see happening after that, I typically had 3 to 5 shoots a week. On average, 3 shoots a week using my own camera. So this pays itself off very quickly that way. 0% financing, 2 years, I will own the camera. When I bought my FS7, I leased that. I didn't do it through Sony Finance. They didn't have the different financing at that time, but I did financing on it. I did it over 3 years, and it was well worth the investment. Now, one of the other things to think about, I don't know if these things are true in the US or other parts of the world, because I know in the US your tax write-offs are a little bit different than they are in Canada. But in Canada, when we buy camera equipment, we have to depreciate that camera equipment. So if I spend $25K this year on this camera outright, I can't write off that $25K this year. I have to spread that out over years. And typically, a camera used to be over 5 years. And I think they've changed it to 3 years. But sometimes you are flipping that camera before that time. So for a 2-year lease for me, that every month of that lease, that payment is a full write-off. Okay, this is me leasing back the company, and at the end, I will own the camera. It's a full write-off. It's very simple. So financially, even if it's not 0% financing, for me to buy a big ticket item like this, it is better for me tax-wise in Canada to finance it than to pay it outright. Even if I had the cash, this is better for my cash flow of my business to buy it like that. And one of the ways I really like to think about it is when you know what your monthly payments are going to be. This is one of the key things to think about when you're working as an owner-operator, or if you have a small production company like myself. You really need to be thinking about, is this tool that you're buying, is this camera, are these lights, are these grip stuff that you're buying, is it worth you getting? Is it going to enhance the work you're doing? And are people going to pay for it? Or is it going to pay itself off? Okay, so there's lots of great things to think about when you're looking at camera gear. And we all, like myself, love camera gear. And I love tech and I love things. For myself, for the business work I do, a Red camera, as much as I love the image of a Red camera, it is not the right tool for me. It might be the right tool for you. It might be the right tool for other people in the kind of work they're doing. But for myself, I know it's not. I know I can't charge extra for that, and people aren't willing to pay for it extra. And it's actually, the workflow is a little bit harder, and there's no autofocus with it. There's a lot of different things, and the reasons why I would go with a FX9 over a Red for myself. Now, that could be different to other people. And you got to think about what is the purpose that you're using the camera for, what are your tools you're using it for. The right camera for me might not be the right camera for you, and same with other camera and lighting and grip equipment. But what you really need to think about, what I'm trying to get to here, is that monthly payment. If you don't think that is going to pay itself off, it's not worth you to yourself to have that. You're investing in something you think, well, maybe if I buy this camera, maybe if I buy a Red, people will think I am worth more and I'll get more work. That's a bad way to think about it. You need to think about, is it something that's going to actually help you and elevate you? And are you being asked for that camera? Are you being asked for that stuff? That's one way to look at stuff as well when you're working as an owner-operator, as a DOP. If somebody keeps saying to you all the time, Brian, I want you to be shooting now on an Alexa Mini. We want all this stuff shot on Alexa Mini. I said, okay, well, maybe I go out and I rent an Alexa Mini for just a couple of jobs. But then if I'm getting a bunch of jobs, you know, week after week, we need Brian. We want you to shoot Alexa Mini. All these things. And I am saying, okay, well, this is going to cost an extra $1,000 a day to pay for that Alexa Mini rental. At a certain point, if things keep going that way, you have to look at other things and think, you know what? I'd be better off investing in my own Alexa Mini and buying that myself and having that as a tool that I have in my arsenal and be able to use that. That's a one way to think about things, and seeing what you need and what you have and what can make you money. And for myself, why I love owning a camera over renting a camera, and I think what I would even do if I lived right by rental houses, and why I would own a camera, is like, when I own a camera and I'm paying it off on jobs that are paying me, and that's how I'm covering the cost of the camera. The great thing is now I have a camera all the time, or cameras like I'm shooting this with. I have a bunch of different cameras that I have all the time. So if I want to go out and do a spec piece for myself and shoot that, I can do it. I don't need to go out and rent gear for that. If somebody wants to come to me and says, Brian, listen, we have this job. We don't have the budget for stuff, but it's a really cool job. Do you want to do it? Do you want to help us out with that? I can go do that because it's not costing me extra. I'm not going out to rent all this gear. I'm not going out to rent all this lighting gear, all this other grip gear. I have that. I've invested in it, and it's already being paid off by other work. So that's another great way to think about how you're buying camera gear, how you're buying lighting gear, and everything. So just to wrap up on investing in camera equipment, camera gear, cameras themselves, what I think the kind of the key things to think about is, how much are you renting cameras to use them? Should you be buying a camera instead of renting it? You should be looking at leasing a camera. See what that monthly would cost you to lease a camera, or leasing other camera equipment. I've leased lights. I've leased servers. I've leased a bunch of different things, and I thought about that stuff in that way. Is my cash flow enough? Is this going to help me enough to actually pay that monthly? And if it doesn't, I shouldn't be investing in it. And third, is this actually going to help you with your business? Is this going to bring in more business for you? Is this going to make you money and not just cost you money? Is it not just some cool piece of kit to have with you that you want to have, but actually, you know, financially wise, it doesn't make any sense? These days right now, this is more important than ever to think about, with a lot of jobs drying up or a lot of jobs going away because we're not allowed to go out and shoot, or we are able to go out and do shoots in some cases, but much different than we had before. And we don't know how long this is going to take. I believe when things come back, some production is going to be booming, but there's going to be different ways around it. And I think the more you have equipment yourself, the more you can be flexible and go and do things, the more you can do stuff at different rates because you own equipment, the more valuable you're going to be in this new coming environment. So thanks so much, guys, for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you guys look about investing in your camera gear and your camera equipment. Let me know what you think about the idea of leasing. Let me know in the States. I think, can you write off everything in 1 year or not? I thought that was true, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you on the next video.